Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hit the bell, subscribe. We have new content coming out daily. Make sure you subscribe. God bless you guys. Two thoughts I want to say. There's another element that could be at play here, which is be so defiant and so provocative in your front-facing communication to try to provoke quote-unquote right-wing violence. I've done a lot of thinking about this. In fact, this is what I love about the Sabbath, the Shabbos, turn off all your devices. I truly believe that absent quote-unquote right-wing instigated violence, these people lose. I think they're trying to provoke you towards some sort of physical reaction. Don't take the bait. I just have to remind you of this. January 6th made the regime more powerful. It gave them more license to spy on us. It gave them more prosecutorial discretion. It gave them the ability to go after political dissidents under this veneer of an insurrection. I think a backup plan these people have is to be so flagrant, taunt you. I think that part of this is about taunting. They want to have another January 6th before the election, or whenever, even after the election, if they get what they want, to try to keep the regime permanently powerful. And if you study illegitimate regimes, they use false flag operations all the time to try and strengthen the iron fist over society. Tyrants use false flags as an ability to say, oh, wow, they got really angry here. And by the way, not everything is 100% a false flag, but it could be a color revolution style thing where you have a bunch of feds that get people worked up in message boards and chat boards, leaders that might be double agents. You got to be on your game with this stuff, everybody, because they're trying to trigger and provoke you into a place where you're going to do something that you regret, do something physical or violent. Don't do that. That's what BLM does. Antifa and BLM get violent and they get away with it. And that's the other reason I think the riots of BLM were allowed to go without any sort of obstruction, is they wanted to try to condition you that violence is an appropriate reaction to politics you don't like. Yeah, for black criminals in downtown Chicago, they can burn, loot, and murder, and half the homicides don't even get solved, right? BLM is allowed to go burn down everything. In Antifa, they're allowed to go burn down a police training headquarters, and 1 out of 4 of them only get arrested, and most do not. That's acceptable. That's violence that actually makes the regime more powerful. But it also set the standard right then. Some people said, well, BLM did, doesn't matter. And this is part of anarcho-tyranny, which is anarchy for Antifa, BLM, and trans activists. They're allowed to do whatever they want. They could punch us in the face. They could burn down our homes. They could burn down our churches. They could burn down abortion, pro-life clinics. Think about how many pro-life clinics were firebombed, how many people arrested. Very few. I think there was one string of arrests. Death threats outside of Supreme Court homes. Nobody's arrested. Literally in violation of the criminal code. International embezzlement, laundering. It's not just two-tier systems of justice. It's not about hypocrisy. It's about hierarchy. They think they're better than you. It's a permanent, out-of-touch ruling class that lives in the kingdom of D.C. and the surrounding suburbs, the place that I just visited, perfectly manicured buildings like something out of, 2080, a sci-fi film. It's like super well built, unbelievably sophisticated and expensive construction. But in flyover country, where you have towns where you have a convenience store, a dollar store, a McDonald's, an empty factory, a funeral, and a church, they hate that place. They want to destroy you. They want to crush small town America because they hate your values, because you're not totally on board for your kids becoming trans, keeping the borders wide open, and going and invade Ukraine. They hate your values. They hate your ideas. One of the ways that they think they can hold on to power, even though their ideas are super unpopular, is that they're trying to provoke small town America, small town Midwestern, to be violent. Stop. Do not do that. Don't even engage in that sort of chatter. If I told you there was a trap, would you walk into the trap? If I told you I know how these people operate. Read their literature. Look at historical tyrannical regimes that become illegitimate. The only thing that they might have left is, I think there's a chance that the American people are with us 60 or 70%. I study this, and some people don't like it when I say this. They said, Charlie, you're being weak. I don't care what you call me. I'm being honest. I'm being truthful. The last thing they have is a trap laid out for you where they're so provocative, where Dan Goldman says stuff like this, the drag queen stuff. I think they're trying to get you to a level where you do the I'm mad as hell as I'm not going to take it anymore, and you quote-unquote get towards violent confrontation. They say, see, that's why we need to Patriot Act 2.0. See, don't fall for it. If I told you there was a trap in front of you, would you avoid it? I'm telling you right now there's a trap in front of you. Avoid it. So what does that mean? You organize, you become precinct committeemen, you expose these people, you stay mad, you use the instruments of power that we have. You don't save the Constitution by acting recklessly, especially when there's a trap laid out in front of you. Do not give the regime the gift of, quote-unquote, a confirmation of their right-wing violence narrative. Instead, stay peaceful, stay active, understand we have these people finally on the ropes. I think we're closer than many of you realize.